One of my favorite investors to follow is David Tepper. If you're not familiar with David Tepper, he's a longtime hedge fund investor, runs a fund called Appaloosa that manages billions of dollars, and he's often getting into really strange things in the market. So buying in debt positions and companies that go bankrupt, and then negotiating those companies through bankruptcy and trying to emerge with an equity position or a more valuable debt position. He did this with Caesars Entertainment, and there was a massive battle between him and the private equity owners of that company. And of course, he comes out with a profitable position. And he's done these kinds of moves all over the market. He speaks very clearly about what he's investing in. And like a lot of these big investors, he reports major holdings to the SEC on a quarterly basis. So we can dig into these things and see exactly what he's seeing in the market. And I think there's a really big trend emerging from Tepper that could actually lead to him having massive great gains for 2023. And keep in mind, this is also somebody who is managing this much money while also being the owner of the Carolina Panthers in the NFL. So just a fun side fact for NFL fans there. My name is Travis Hoium. Thanks for watching Asymmetric Investing. Please subscribe here on YouTube for all my content. And thanks to this video sponsor, The Motley Fool. Check out fool.com/ASYM for their top 10 stocks to buy right now. Now let's go straight to the numbers. This is Tepper's overall position. You can see that the market value of these assets, $5.1 billion. And so what's reported here is the equity value. So there's probably a lot of investments that are not reported because they don't necessarily fall into this category. But the top 10 holdings account for 72% of the portfolio, so fairly concentrated. And it's pretty clear what Tepper is concentrating in. You can see that the biggest position is Meta Platforms. The second biggest is Microsoft, then Amazon, Nvidia, Alphabet. So what we have there is 5 of the 7 Magnificent 7 for 2023. That makes for a great year if you're somebody like Tepper. The next 4 positions also fall in the tech industry. Uber, great recovery play in 2023. Alibaba, AMD, the chip company. Intel, again, having a nice recovery. The first kind of industrial company is FedEx with a $172 million position, and then Qualcomm. So very, very heavily weighted to the tech industry, and Tepper's actually been buying most of these stocks throughout the year. Alibaba is the one position that in the most recent quarter, the position was down almost 20%, but Meta, Microsoft, Amazon, Alphabet were all positions that were added to throughout the year. So let's dig into a little bit of the ownership patterns for a couple of these. I'll start with Meta, the biggest position in the portfolio, like I said, 11.6%. And you can see that this is a stock that's been in the portfolio pretty often over time. Tepper actually owned 6.2 million shares going back to 2018. If you would have just held that, that would have been a great investment. But now that is down to about 2 million shares, but that's up about 4x from a year ago. So buying shares of Meta, and again, a company that long-term Tepper and Appaloosa have been very bullish on. Microsoft is another one, been in and out of the portfolio, but now a much, much bigger position. And that really started in the second quarter. If you remember the boom from AI and OpenAI's launch of ChatGPT, that really started in late Q4. So this position was really added later in the year, and he was buying in pretty big size. Now owns about 1.6 million shares of Microsoft, and that looks to be growing. So we'll see what happens with that in the next quarter. Amazon's another one, been added to throughout the year, but the big acquisition came in 2022. So Tepper was buying at a real low point there when there was a lot of value, because that was, remember, when Amazon was overbuilding factories, their profitability suffered as a result. But the company is really now focused, and a lot of the growth is really starting to take place in AWS. So that is one that Tepper has done really well with. And Nvidia is the next one. Nvidia, a relatively new position, but was adding really heavily in the second quarter. That's when it got up to 8% of the portfolio, a little over 1 million shares. So really betting big on the growth in artificial intelligence in a number of different ways. Like I said, Tepper historically makes big bets on sectors of the industry. He was owning big banks in the financial crisis, thought that that could be a way to play the recovery in not only the market, but also the economy. And he was absolutely right with that. Right now, very invested in big tech stocks. So that's what he was acquiring in 2023 and even going back to 2022 in some cases. Vast majority of the portfolio is in. I think some of the smaller positions are interesting because if you look at something like Intel, that was actually added just a couple of quarters ago. So what he's obviously seeing is signs that their turnaround plans are going relatively well and there's some value in the stock. Maybe it doesn't become the next Taiwan Semiconductor, but maybe they're able to build out a nice niche for themselves with both those legacy businesses and things like PCs and data centers, and also some of the new foundry options and then custom chips that other companies like TSMC are making. So that is one that has been added to. Uber's another one. Again, a recovery play and added most of this position in the first quarter. So relatively new to being a sizable position in the portfolio, but as that business has recovered, he's really doubled down on it. Thanks to our friends at The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/ASYM for the top 10 stocks to buy right now. One of the things I really take away from Tepper's portfolio and watching him over time is to think about the way that macro trends are changing in the market and where money is flowing and where companies are doing well or not well, maybe undervalued. Like I mentioned earlier, he was really betting big on big bank stocks during the financial crisis. And one of his arguments was, well, the Federal Reserve has said that they're not going to let these banks fail. So obviously I want to own that kind of asset. And that was right. Now the big trend is big tech is getting even bigger and more powerful. What's going to happen with artificial intelligence? Well, it's more likely than not that it's going to be a sustaining innovation for them. So there's going to be innovation and new products in artificial intelligence. But most of the value is going to accrue to the existing tech companies that have the cloud infrastructure, the money to build out models and pay for GPUs, or the infrastructure companies making chips. You saw AMD, NVIDIA, and Intel in that ownership. So that's the trend there, is that there's going to be more and more demand for custom chips or AI chips. So these are big macro trends, and it certainly looks like that's exactly what Tepper is seeing in the market. Now, he's also willing to sell positions when he thinks that those positions have gone too far and there's maybe better opportunities in the market. So one thing I'm going to be watching over the next few quarters is what is he selling and where is he shifting money to? What is he buying? Because I think given the multiples of these companies, the Magnificent Seven stocks, as they're known right now, are trading for a price to earnings multiple of 50. So that's an extremely expensive multiple to be paying for stocks. And so I wouldn't be surprised to see some selling by not only Tepper, but some other big investors in 2024. But we'll see how this plays out and where he moves his money. Hopefully this is helpful looking at what some of the most successful investors in the market are doing. I think we can always get little insights from what they own and why they own it, and either reinforce or challenge our own investment theses. But what did you think about Tepper's portfolio? Were you surprised that he was such a big tech investor? I think that was the thing that really shocked me. Vast majority of the portfolio is in tech stocks right now. So we'll see if that's the case in 2024. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to Asymmetric Investing. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you here next time.